Good evening, everyone. We are here for the session of our biological series. Today's topic is on concept of dharana, dhyana, and samadhi by our speaker, Mr. Kalyan Mehti. Kalyan Mehti completed his graduation and post-graduation in yoga therapy from S. Vyasa University, Bangalore. He has received Best Student Award and Academic Excellency Award from S. Vyasa University. Currently, he is pursuing PhD in Yoga and Life Sciences from S. Vyasa University. He is passionate about yoga practice, yoga research, and spreading yoga for betterment of mankind. Along with Mr. Kalyan, we have a very special guest as a commentator for today's presentation, Dr. Rudra Bhandari. Dr. Rudra Bhandari awarded doctorate in human consciousness and yogic science from Dev Sanskriti Vishwavidyalaya. His doctoral research was on efficacy of mind-body spirit intervention on health of corporate workforce. Dr. Bhandari has been associated with Patanjali Yogpith and University of Patanjali and working as a close subordinate of a noted Ayurveda scholar, Honorable Acharya Balkrishna, and yoga master His Holiness Swami Ramdev since 2009. His yoga teaching and learning and living covers all contemporary yoga styles. Dr. Bhandari has been teaching complementary and alternative therapy. So with this introduction, I'm pleased to begin our session and request Mr. Kalyan to begin with your presentation. Over to you, Kalyan.
It is visible now?
Yes.
Namaste. Very good evening to all. Myself Kalyan. Today we are going to discuss about concept of dharana, dhyana and samadhi. In this speech, I am going to cover the introduction about the yoga and dharana, dhyana, samadhi, and what is the necessity of the yoga practice, and what is dharana, what is dhyana, what is samadhi, and then concept of dharana, dhyan, samadhi according to Dr. H.R. Nagendra Guruji, and different meditation techniques, as well as we are going to see the different scientific evidence on meditation. So first, let's start with introduction. So, as you know, dharana, dhyan, samadhi is the part of the yoga. So first we will little bit discuss about yoga. Yoga is a Sanskrit word which is derived from the root word yuj, which means joining or the union. So joining means what? So people are saying that joining means Atma and Paramatma, but it is not only that. The yoga means joining each and every aspects of our life. Like if you look at our body, why joining is very much important. Each and every cell of our body is functioning because they are having coordination with each other. So when the group of cell form the tissue, the group of tissue form the organ, group of organ from the system, and group of systems from the body. Each and every parts of the body are coordinating or uniting each other. So that is why union is very much important. So as you know, dharana, dhyan, samadhi are the internal part of the Ashtanga Yoga. So what is Ashtanga Yoga? Ashtanga Yoga is mentioned in Patanjali Yoga Sutra. It is nothing but 8 parts of the yoga explained by Maharshi Patanjali. So Maharshi Patanjali has divided 8 parts of the yoga into 2. One is called Bahiranga Yoga or external part, and one is called Antaranga Yoga or the internal part. So in Bahiranga Yoga, there are 5 classifications. It is starting with Yama or yogic ethics. Niyama means yogic observance or the social rules. Asana means yogic postures. Pranayama, it is a prana regulated technique. So pranayama is not only breathing exercise. Pranayama means there are we can regulate our pranic flow. So according to yogic text, there are 5 types of prana, like prana, apana, samana, udana, and vyana. Also, there are 5 upapranas called Naga, Kurma, Krikara, Devdatta, Dhananjaya. So pranayama is a technique which will help you to regulate your prana in your body. So according to yogic science, people are having disease due to the improper or imbalance of prana. So this pranayama technique will help you to regulate your prana or proper channelization of your prana. And pratyahara is the withdrawing the senses. Now come to the antaranga yoga. So antaranga yoga basically classified into 3. One is dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. Dharana means, in grossly we can say dharana is the concentration, dhyana is the meditation, and samadhi is this transcendental state or the super conscious state. Now come to the necessity of the yoga. Why we should do yoga? And if you look at the Patanjali, the yama, niyama, asan, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, and samadhi, in these 8 parts, if you analyze this, the internal psychology of these 8 parts, it says about not only the union, but it is disunion. Disunion with what? Disunion with our gross object. So whatever we are having or attaching with that gross object, we have to remove the gross object or disunifying with the gross object, and we should unite ourselves with the super consciousness. Now, in necessity of yoga practice, Patanjali has explained in his 2nd chapter of Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Sutra number 28, Yoganganushthanat asuddhikshaye jnanadiptihi viveka khyate. So yoga must be practiced. Anushtanat means practice. Ashuddhi means impurities. Kshaya means remove or distraction. And finally, to get the gnana or the spiritual knowledge, and we have to achieve the ultimate state that is called viveka khyati, the awareness on the reality. So yoga should be practiced to remove our asuddhi or the impurities from our body as well as mind, and then only we can move towards the viveka khyati or the awareness towards the reality. Now let's move to the dharana. What is dharana? So as Patanjali mentioned, dharana means desa bandhas chittasya dharana. Desa means the place, bandha means binding, chitta means mind, dharana means the concentration. So we have to bound our mind in a particular place, that is called dharana. So you can see there is a picture. So you might have known the story of Arjuna and Dronacharya. Whenever Dronacharya told to Arjuna to shoot a bird, and after that he asked to Arjuna that what you can see now. Then Arjuna replied, only I can see the eye of the bird. That is nothing but dharana, means total concentrated on the particular point. In yogic text also, the desa bandha chittasya dharana, you have to concentrate your chitta or mind in a particular place or desa. That's why this is called dharana. Now come to the dhyana or meditation. So most of the people heard about the meditation and also practicing meditation, but exact meditation, what is exact meditation? Meditation is tatra pratyay ekatanata dhyanam. Tatra pratyay means the basis or content of consciousness. Ekatanata means continuity. Dhyanam means meditation. So whenever you are doing the dharana or concentrating on a particular object, so you are putting some effort, but whenever you are doing or continuing the same dharana without effort, that is nothing but dhyana. So continuation of dharana is finally leads to the dhyana. Now comes to the samadhi. What is samadhi? In Patanjali have explained Tadev arthamatra nirvasham swarupa sunnameva samadhi. Tadeva, the same artha means the object of dhyana, matra means only, nirvasam means appear, swarupa means one's own form, sunna means empty, eva samadhi means super consciousness. So whenever you are doing the dharana, so there are three things involved. One is you are doing the meditation or the dharana, and there is a process of meditation, and you are concentrating on a particular object. So whenever this, you are forgetting yourself and you are merging with the object of meditation, that is nothing but the samadhi. All the three things unite together. So that is why in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, next sutra told about Trayamekatra Sanyamaha. Trayamekatra means dharana, dhyan and samadhi, three together called as Sanyama. Sanyama means sam means perfect, yama means control. So whenever three things become together, you will have control to your mind or your psyche. Now let's discuss about the dharana, dhyan and samadhi according to Dr. H.R. Nagendra Guruji. So our Guruji has explained dharana, dhyan and samadhi very simple way. So first, before going to understand the dharana, we must understand the chanchalata. Chanchalata means flickering of the mind. So in chanchalata, we are having the multiple subject and also multiple thoughts. Means we are thinking something else, and means we are thinking so many things together. Like whenever you are sitting in a one place, you are looking around each other, you are looking each other. So in your mind, there is a multiple subjects as well as multiple thoughts. But whenever you are coming to the concentration, there is a single subject, but there may be a multiple thoughts. So suppose you are concentrating, or whenever you are reading anything, your concentration is required. But at the same time, you may have the many thoughts. That is called concentration. But here there is a very minute difference between concentration and dharana. In the case of dharana, what happened? You are having only single subject and only single thoughts. That is the dharana. In Patanjali, we have seen already desa bandhas chittasya dharana. So you have to focus your mind in a particular place or particular point. So that is dharana, only single thoughts and single object. Now let's come to the meditation according to Guruji. So Guruji is always explaining or telling about the 5 things whenever doing the meditation. So you can observe the 5 things while you are doing the meditation, like steadiness of your body. Your body must be stable during the meditation. Slowness of your breath becomes slow down during the meditation. Calmness of your mind become calm. And effortlessness, you cannot do the meditation. So if you ask to any one person who is doing meditation, what you are doing, then he will say, I am doing meditation. But one thing I can tell you that there are several yoga masters has been told that you cannot do the meditation. You can only do the preparatory practice for the meditation. Meditation will happen automatically. So that is why you must lose your effort. So effortlessness is very much important while you are doing meditation. Now come to the expansive awareness. So whenever we are concentrating at a particular point, that time we are focusing, but meditation is a deep focus. You have to expand your awareness. Now what is samadhi? Samadhi is the merger. We are merging with something. What? We are merging with 3 things together. Already I have discussed the seer, seeing and seeing. So subject of the meditation, the process of meditation, and object of meditation. Suppose you are doing the meditation, you are the subject, process of meditation, and object, on which object, like picture or any god on goddesses, that is the object of meditation. So whenever the seer and seen and also process of meditation merge together, that is nothing but the samadhi. So in order to explain samadhi, Guruji has been explained the jump. Samadhi is nothing but jump. Jump to where to where. So if you look at the physical world, the very smallest unit like electron, protons, and neutrons, each and everything always are moving. So there is a quantum jump of electrons from one orbit to the another orbit. We can see in our physical world. But if you look at the subtle world or sukshma world, so you can see during the meditation, suddenly you are in the wakeful state or the aware state or the conscious state, and your awareness will jump suddenly towards the superconscious state. So there is a jumping from one layer to other subtler layer in the case of meditation. So what is samadhi? According to Guruji, samadhi is the returning our real home. So from where we all are emerged, from where we came from. So if you look at the kosha wise, our body structure, like Annamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, Anandamaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, and Anandamaya kosha. So it is a reverse journey. Like in the creation, it is starting from the Anandamaya kosha and it is coming down to Vijnanamaya kosha and Manomaya, then Pranamaya, then physical body. But in the case of samadhi, you can reverse the same process starting from the physical body towards the super consciousness. And also it says that samadhi is the beginning, not the end, because samadhi is the starting of the samadhi, is the real practice of the yoga. So whatever we are doing, like asana, pranayam, mudras, bandhas, whatever we are doing, that all are the preparatory practice, because we have the main aim of yoga is to reach the ultimate state. So let's see, there are different stages of samadhi as explained in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. It is starting from the dharana, dhyan, samadhi we already described and discussed, and after that there is a vitarka samadhi, which is further classified into savitarka and nirvitarka. What is savitarka samadhi? Tatra sabdartha gnana vikalpaihi sankirna savitarka samapattihi. In this samadhi, there is a sabda means sound, artha means knowledge or the meaning, or gnana means reasoning or knowledge, and vikalpaihi by alteration. So our whenever this savitarka samadhi is the little gross level of samadhi. So here we are concentrating on sabda, artha, gnana, and vikalpa. And if you look at the nirvitarka samadhi, it says that smriti parisuddhau sarupa sunyaveva arthamatra nirbhasam nirvitarka, means only the artha will remain, remaining things will dissolve in the case of nirvitarka samadhi. If you look at the in the same way, there is vichara samadhi, which is further divided into nirvichara and savichara. So now we'll not discuss about much. This is quite difficult to understand. We may have discussed later because it is quite difficult part. Now come to the Ananda Samadhi. In Ananda Samadhi, there is a, you can experience the bliss. And in Asmita Samadhi, Asmita means I-ness or ego. In this Samadhi, whenever, even though you are achieving the state of Samadhi, but till there is a ego or I-ness, you are attaching with, there is a attachment with yourself. And Nirbija Samadhi, Bija means seed. So in the case of Nirbija Samadhi, what happened? All the seeds burn. What is the seeds? All the samskara, all the attachment will burn in the case of Nirbija Samadhi. After that, you will achieve, whenever you will complete the Nirbija stage of Samadhi, you can go to the Dharma Mega Samadhi. One specific speciality of this Dharma Mega Samadhi is, in this Samadhi, you can observe that the spiritual knowledge is falling like a rain. Megha means cloud. So it is like your spiritual knowledge is raining on you. In this Samadhi, you can experience. And finally, there is a Nirvikalpa or Moksha or Kaivalya you can get. So in order to describe Moksha, Patanjali says that Purusartha Sunyanam Gunanam Pratiprashavah Kaivalyam Swarupa Pratishtava Chit Saktariti. So means everything will dissolve in this, all the gunas will dissolve, your all the Purusartha will dissolve, and all the guna will dissolve, everything will dissolve in this Nirvikalpa Samadhi or Moksha state. Now let's come to the different meditation techniques. There are several meditation techniques has been discovered by different yoga gurus. Like we can see the few techniques. There are so many meditation techniques. I have given the only few techniques, few important techniques on which there are several researches has been done, like cyclic meditation. In this meditation, it is a moving kind of meditation where there is alternative stimulation and relaxation. So we are giving alternative stimulation by asana and then relaxing the body. So this is called cyclic meditation. Now Om meditation. In this meditation, we are focusing on the Om picture, and also we are chanting the Om, and we are observing the gap between the Om and etc. There are several kinds of Om meditation. Now in transcendental meditation, what happened? In this meditation technique, it is a mantra type of meditation. They're chanting the mantra, and they're improving the speed of chanting and then slowly coming down. In Vipassana meditation, they're observing the self, like they're going inward and observing the self from where thoughts is coming, like that they're doing the Vipassana meditation. And in Raja Yoga meditation, this is also, in this meditation, they're observing the inner self. What your inner self want. So in this way, they're moving inwards journey in this Raja Yoga meditation. So let's focus on the few research evidence which has been done on meditation. So when you may search in Google Scholar or PubMed, you may search only the meditation, you will find this several research has been done on meditation. Each, like cyclic meditation, Om meditation, there are several research on transcendental meditation and all. So we'll see few meditation. Scientific evidence on meditation. There is a study which is published in Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine. So functional magnetic resonance imaging or MRI of hippocampal activation during the silence mantra meditation. In this meditation, they have shown that the hippocampus in our brain, you can see the hippocampus, which is responsible for our learning and memory. This C-shaped structure is hippocampus. So this hippocampus can be activated by the meditation. And also the bilateral activation of the hippocampus observed, those are doing meditation or those are long-term meditators. So one more study, the effect of meditation on brain structure, cortical thickness mapping, and diffusion tracer imaging. So in this study, they have seen that the long-term meditators are having the structural changes in the gray matter and white matter in the brain, and also it's improved the cortical thickness and anterior region of the brain. Those are doing meditation. Another study also shown that the cortical thickness, mental absorption, meditative practice possible implication for disorders of attention. So in this study, they have shown that there is an improvement in cortical thickness. So cortex is the very much important part of our brain. It is nothing but cerebral cortex, which is responsible for our most of the brain function. So through the meditation, we can improve the cortical thickness. Also, in this study, the mindfulness-based stress reduction for solid organ transplant recipients a randomized control trial. In this study, they have focused the after the organ transplantation. So they are giving the meditation, like those have transplant the liver and any other organs of the body. So they have given the meditation after the transplantation of the organ. So whenever you are undergone any surgery, you may have several stress, depression, anxiety. The several psychological things may occur after the meditation, after the surgery. So in this study, they have taken the patient who's ever undergone the surgery. So they have seen that there is a improvement in anxiety, depression, and sleep symptoms after the meditation. In one more study, mindfulness meditation to reduce the symptoms after organ transplant, a pilot study. In this study, they have shown that after the meditation technique, the depression is decreased, means depression symptoms is decreased, and also improve the sleep quality. So these are the few studies I have taken for the example, but you can see several studies has been done on meditation. So this much for today. Thank you very much for watching. So you can ask any question if you are having.
Well, special thanks to Professor Akshay Anand for his invitation as commentator, and Dr. Parul for technical assistance, especially on this session. And Mr. Maiti, I have gone through your entire presentation and I have some observations and feedback. As I told you, this is the just deliberation on dharana, dhyan, and samadhi in the flow of your biological sciences discourse as organized by Postgraduate Institute of Medical Education and Research, Chandigarh. Well, you tried to clarify the classical concept of dharana, dhyan, and samadhi on the basis of Patanjali Yoga Sutra and Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and interestingly, one of the noted yoga master, Dr. H.R. Nagendra. And just during the explanation of the concentration, dharana, just you're talking about the chitta is the mind. In the context of Patanjali Yoga Sutra, the meaning of chitta is not confined to mind. It is the aggregate of the mind, intellect, and ego. I mean, the ego, mind, and intellect altogether is called chitta, and perhaps psyche is the more appropriate term to represent the chitta in the context of Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Right? Interestingly, you're just talking about some indicators of meditation as emphasized by Dr. Nagendra, and where you could explain the slow breath. The breath becomes slow during the course of meditation. What exactly stands for it should be clarified. In the yogic context, the slow breath may have two meanings: length and depth of the breath. As per the study made till the date, a meditator practitioner can decrease the length of the breath. If we look at the Story Yoga, like Shiva Sarodaya, and its commentary made by Swami Satyanand, maybe Dr. Swami Mukti Bodhanand, and one of the great pioneer of scientific spirituality, Pandit Sri Ram Sarma Acharya, you can have the more discussion to clarify the difference between length and depth of the breath, right? These two are the different things. So maybe in your term, the slowness of the breath may stand for the reduced length of the breath, and that is the good indicator. And the length of the breath gradually decreases from low to higher state of consciousness, from the gross to subtle journey of the yoga practice. And I think, I'm not sure, you are speaking about the real home. Samadhi is the yogic attempt to return back to the real home. I think that is the subjective term, and maybe real home is to be clarified by the Purush, right? As per Patanjali, tada drastu sorupe avasthanam. That is the ultimate goal of yoga, and that is a sort of fusion between Prakriti and Purush, right? In fact, in Sankhya philosophy, in yoga system, yoga is the fusion, the separation of Purush and Prakriti. That is called the establishment in the real form and returning back to the real home, the real form, that is Purush. And there was one more term as the indicator of the meditation, expansive awareness. What exactly stands for, right? I could not get this point. You tried your best to clarify expansive awareness, and it would have been cited and referenced to. Just to go through the greater detail, especially by the passionate learners, whosoever is watching this webcast may be interested to go through the detailed meaning of these indicators of meditation, uh, may be interested to know the references to go in the depth, right? And well, so you have to give the due citations and the references, and it's an every slide, because it is the evidence-based presentation being made from the platform of PGI, whether it is the matter of classical aspect, classical domain, or scientific arena, all should be cited and they referenced, right? Interestingly, you belong to the Yes, Vyasa, as doctoral student and working in PGI, you would have, reviewed the study made by Dr. Deepeshwar Singh. I think he has made the very good evidence-based study on Chanchalta, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. He has assessed the effect of all these states on hemodynamic change, neuronal change by using the P300 event-related potential, and he has also looked at some psychiatric problems like anxiety, mood, etc. Right? So, moreover, these are some points on classical aspect, and I know you have the time limit to present your whole ideas. There are so many scientific studies to highlight the effect and efficacy of the varieties of meditation, like you explained. Transcendental meditation, vipassana meditation, cyclic meditation, and two more meditations, most frequently, Qigong and Zen meditation. Corbett Zen belongs to the Massachusetts, and he is the pioneer to carry out the research on psychophysiological effects of the Zen meditation, right? And you could cover the scientific aspects of meditation, especially targeting the anatomical aspects, just like hippocampus, right? Especially by using the radiographic tool like fMRI, and you would have covered the other indicators and effects of meditation, especially on hemodynamic change, especially on prefrontal cortex, and the measurement of the evoked potential, brain waves, down regulation of the hypothalamus pituitary axis, and more about the effect of meditation on cognitive functions like mindfulness, attention, working memory, etc. And the similarly affective functions like compassion, kindness, forgiveness, and the effect of meditation, especially on the limbic functions. And of course, there are some studies to highlight the effect of these varieties of meditation on the neurohormones like GABA. GABA, you may find some studies on Science, right? The Journal of Alternative and Complementary Therapy, especially conducted by Streeter. The neurohormones like GABA, serotonin, enkephalin, endorphin, anandamide, and of course the stress-related neurotransmitters like epinephrine and norepinephrine. So you tried just to display one study to show the positive impact of meditation on psychiatric problems. I think it was a study related to schizophrenia. I'm not sure, but there are so many studies to highlight the positive impacts of varieties of meditation on psychiatric problems like schizophrenia, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, obsessive compulsive disorder, and addictive behaviors like drug abuse, right, alcoholism, etc., attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and dementia, Alzheimer's disease, etc. Right. So these are the some of my observation in your study. And one thing I would like to hereby, from the classical perspective, my dear friends, whatever scientific evidence has been gathered till the date in connection to the positive impacts of varieties of meditation on the anatomical, physiological, neurohormonal, and the disease-related and the psychiatric problems, especially to assess the impact of meditation, are not related to the real practitioner. Means we just carry out the research on those participants who are guided certain meditation techniques, that may be the cyclic meditation as developed by H.R. Nagen, that may be stress reduction, the mindful based stress reduction technique, and any other. These are not, these studies were not conducted on the real yogis and masters having the greater height. So meditation is not the guided technique, and it cannot be taught to everyone. And that is the stage of psychic refinement that can be achieved automatically. Meditation cannot be taught to any individual, and any individual cannot be put in the depth of meditation by the part of another person. Meditation happens as the result of the spontaneous selfless work and other attempts on yogic techniques. And so there may be a chance of carrying out research on the real practitioner of meditation. The enlightened masters who really can merge in the depth of meditation, and we can assess all these anatomical, physiological, neurohormonal, and disease-related parameters to know the real impact. And in fact, we are talking about the samadhi. It's very difficult to find out the participant having the status of the stage of samadhi, especially during the course of yoga practice, during meditation. So this is still lacuna. There is the dearth of the studies to highlight the effects of samadhi on different anatomical and physiological aspects of the human existence. So one more point, Mr. Maiti, you tried to create the analogy between quantum jump of electrons from one orbit to another with the jump of consciousness from gross to subtle layers. I'm skeptical. How can we create the consistency and analogy between two facts? As per my knowledge, the jump of electron from one orbit to another is the consequence of energy imbalance. Am I right? The jumping of electron from one orbit to another happens due to energy imbalance. But in case of samadhi, it is argued that there is a complete harmony in the energy flow and the energy channelization. How do you correlate and how do you create the consistency between these two states? That is to be clarified. Otherwise, you tried your best to discuss the classical and scientific aspects of meditation. Thank you very much. I appreciate your efforts and hope similar efforts in the days to come. These were my observations and feedback to your presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Let me thank Professor Akshay Anand for his invitation as a commentator on these lectures of biological series, and Dr. Parul for technical assistance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for nice and detailed observation about the Kalyan's presentation. And we have other lab members with us. So they must have some question related to this presentation. So is there any question from anyone?
Welcome.
Prashant, do you have any question? And Pooja, another yoga student?
No, ma'am, no question.
Okay. So, Kalyan, have you found any study related to meditation and neurodegeneration?
Yes, ma'am, it is there. There is Alzheimer disease also paper is there.
Okay.
I did not took that paper because there are so many papers. I have just for the example part purpose, I have taken few papers. It is there, ma'am.
Okay, so let me know about that paper because it can be included in your study.
Yes, ma'am, definitely.
Okay, so thank you very much, Kalyan, for the nice detailed presentation on the concept of dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. And thank you, Dr. Bhandari, for your nice thoughts, your valuable insights, and detailed observation about the presentation. Thank you very much.